City of Jackson's going to have to take some pretty quick steps to trim these trees hanging over the road. Not just in the area that you see here. John Hopkins Road has some dangerous overhangs. In my neighborhood, you know, with the odd weather, with it like nearly flooding, you know, April through early June, and then a dry summer, one tree just fell. Not a particularly tall tree, rather short tree that branches out really far to the each side, and it just fell in this one lot renter's backyard. You know, the property belongs to the company on the trailer park. There are residents though that have been there more than 30 years. Camping for 30 years. So John Hopkins Road. I'm looking at this over stuff. These overhangs on these other trees. It just looks odd. Like there's going to be a lot of trees falling into the road with if it suddenly gets cold this week. I haven't watched the forecast. This is December 3rd. Haven't caught the forecast. The kids and their mother keep me busy. I'm looking for the smallest and cheapest can of black paint I could find. I got a really strict budget today, and I want at least enough to do the ceiling in the room that I have painted black. That's for our sound room and our movie watching room. The kids watch random things on TV, and if they're going to get into one program and watch it all the way through, they do it in their room. But for us eating, family time, we have the TV on and the children eat on the floor. This is their habit, and I do like this habit. If you get in the habit of eating on the floor in I'll call it a Siamese style. You can you sit in what Americans call an Indian position, but the little type princess position is you have one foot tucked in towards your groin, and then the other foot, preferably the right foot, is turned and pointing behind you. So, you know, for some of us that are big, perhaps not that flexible, you need to put some weight on your left hand and then eat with your right hand. Now, I'm particularly tall, so for me to stretch or get on the ground, all that stuff is usually like, you know, it's a big production, especially now that I'm heavier. But if you learn to sit in this position, it's very relaxing. Some really good stretching for your legs. Improves circulation of the whole body. And when you bend over to eat, and then you straighten up to chew and swallow, it takes your eating activity. This stretches it out a bit. Like, you know, Thai people in the military eat at a table. You know, typically like a, you know, stainless steel table. They're eating on stainless steel ware. They Thai military trains like a bare minimum Not because they're being cheap. It's just show the soldiers that you can live on this particular amount of rice and fish and vegetables and fruit. Fruit is a dessert and a snack. And Gene will tell you it's strict 5 minutes to eat. They blow a whistle when you can pick up your fork. They blow a whistle for when you can start eating. They blow a whistle for when you stop eating, and they blow another whistle for you to immediately put up your tray. And I don't know about the downtime, the leisure time of type soldiers. I don't know about that. I mean, if you call coming to my rhythm kick class leisure time, then you're a tough soldier. I did have a lot of soldiers in my class, especially at Mong Tong Tani, and that was a compliment. You know, to see a young man, perhaps age 25, got a few years of military under his belt, and for those soldiers, living in Mong Tong Tani is a luxury. For them, it's considered a luxury area usually. Now, there are rich people that live in Mong Tong Tani. You know, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You live wherever you want to. But again, like I say, like for the soldiers, to have a condominium style apartment and then actually have air conditioning in it is also a big luxury. Thai people sporadically use air conditioning. If they do have it. It's just like any environment, just like living here in Mississippi. We're subtropical, so you know we got this cold season, and that's cold. But in Thailand, it very rarely gets as cold as it is today, and it's creeping up on 9 o'clock, and it's maybe 55 or 60 out there. It's just real rare for it to ever get that cold, even up in the mountains at night in North Thailand. Thailand's got many, many, many resorts, and you'll find out that some of them are family owned, and the family lives there on the side, and they also have lots of connections in the city. So for somebody really pocketing some pretty good vacation money, the amenities of your trip can be handled by the owner and his son, daughter-in-law, or daughter perhaps also. You know, when I say amenities, you know, they're going to tell you, like, in that particular city that you decide to, you know, stay in, there may only be 20 foreigners in a city of, you know, 100,000 people. And they can tell you where the best places to go for people that love to speak English, like to speak English, and, you know, they want to do some commerce with you. Thai people are very shy, and they don't like to lose their face. What I mean by that is, if you're a visitor, do your very best not to put them on the spot or cause them direct embarrassment. And if you do get in a situation that's slightly embarrassing about a language barrier, or you brought up a subject matter that's sensitive to Thai people, just be calm about it, relax, don't apologize about it too much. You know, what's done is done. And if you dwell on something and analyze something too much, Thais are very quick to label you as neurotic. and rightly so. They're correct. Caucasian culture, and I have to speak especially for Americans, is can be quite neurotic. Although we say things very loosely, we also have paranoia about something being an omen. There are some Thai people that do not want you to wear a lot of black to a wedding. And there's also some Thai people that prefer that you wear white to a funeral. Now, you can talk all day long. I don't have to do that. I'm American. I grew up free. I'll show up in a multicolored polka dot clown outfit. Don't do that. Don't show up in a multicolored polka dot clown outfit. Don't do that. They've got clowns there that would love a part-time gig. So when you're staying over there, like now, I did this in Suphanburi. I became more than acquaintances with the owners of the apartment that I lived in, and I was terribly loud. Gene and I had arguments. I had arguments with my family back in Mississippi. I was so loud, it was embarrassing. I just went into full-blown, like, drill sergeant mode, and my platoon was not marching to the beat that I was telling them to march to. Now, I wasn't able to really, what you call, buy these people. I can't afford to quite buy these kind of people for a lot of luxury, because I didn't have any luxury, including I didn't have transportation to get to the hospital the day my son was born. We walked, over 6 miles because he was born on a Sunday and 10 months in his mommy's belly, and it was a suggestion of the doctor we had that's a Chinese doctor, Chinese Thai. I tend to get along with these people better, and the reason is their reasoning, their analytical thinking, their planning, and their logic is very similar to an American man and American woman even. When it comes to business type things especially, I don't get into the personal life of these people much except for the women that I dated that were white-skinned Chinese. But they think along the same lines as I do. So when he gave me the reason for this idea, I agreed with him. So we, toughed it out. But we had a very nice room, really high ceiling, and the bed was terribly uncomfortable. I had to put something on it to make it, it's like coconut, coconut shreds. The bed was. And some foreigners have gone so far as to buy another mattress for the room they're staying in, and they're going to leave the mattress behind. I recommend doing that. You're saying something really nice to the hotel owners. You're leaving your legacy, which hopefully is a clean one. And there will be somebody that Thai person knows that would love to have that coconut bed that you didn't want to sleep on. You got me? There's a type of a Thai recycling, which, it's repossession, recycling. And just like Gene mentioned today, there's members of the Thai royal family who are friends of Mr. Thaksin, a former prime minister, and then of course his sister was also prime minister for a while, and she got accused of a lot of type of corruption that she actually inherited, if it even be there. She was a student of mine for a while. Before I even recognized who she was, she'd already been in my class a long time. I just happened to had a groovy little thing going on. And, some of those people wanted to change me for this and that. And I did I never really had a conversation with Mai. Mai hates my guts, and I don't know why. But her sisters are a lot nicer to me. But both the younger and the older sisters seem to like me fine. But I did want to have this conversation with Mai, and I ended up having it with her friend, and then some of the very few male students I had. One of them was a Taekwondo Olympic champion. He was an Isan guy. You know, and Isan people are shy around Thai movie stars. So they're not going to get like, oh, well, yeah, we should put this guy's class somewhere. They don't get involved in such a way. Thai people don't have like, hey, let's fix this immediately attitude. They like to plan things way in advance. And also, my skill level at teaching is not that hard to achieve if you're aerobically fit, coordinated, and have some martial arts training. And I did all that on purpose that way. And also the main reason that hey, it's not watered down. You're getting the whiskey, but you know, you're getting a whiskey that's only been aged a certain amount of time. So when I do give you my brand of whiskey, you know, drink the shot, take it, savor the flavor. And some of the group wanted us to meet in a racquetball room, but I immediately said the racquetball courts are booked most of the time. There is some times where it's not booked, but I would not want to convert a racquetball room into an aerobics room. I've done it 2 times. It's a bad mojo. It feels like you're in a cave. It just the echo of the music and then the echo of me yelling and all that, it just seems like torture or something. You know, aerobic room needs to be acoustically sound, and ideally the floor needs to have those little rubber balls beneath it so that the floor flexes a little bit. And you know, because you're doing a lot of activity that you just wouldn't normally do on a hard concrete or hardwood floor surface alone. But to each his own. You know, if you're teaching a group that's ballet fit, you can go with a hardwood floor. If you're teaching a little bit of everybody, it's worth it to have the flex floor, which means you know, 2-inch wood with rubber balls beneath it. It usually comes in a pre-pack like this. The guy still got the sticker on the truck, and he's racing it. I really like teaching in Thailand, and as you know, as a Farang instructor, there's a different kind of respect level, and I usually don't become socially involved even with the people that speak English very well and can express themselves very well. You know, when a Thai person studies English for a long time, you got to remember he has a certain concept and word on his mind, and he's looking for the right opportunity to say this to the right Farang being a foreigner. Now, he may not mean this to be a jab at you, or you know, in Thailand they call it dog bite. You know, he's not meaning a dog bite, but he's had a particular thing on his mind that's in reference to the way he feels about foreigners. And if he feels like you're friendly enough and accepting of him enough, and you're not in a situation, you know, where he expresses himself like that, then he's going to get in trouble because you're going to fire him from the company or something. But, you know, that's not the situation as a teacher. You know, I'm going to accept you as a student, or I'm going to say, hey, you're getting on my nerves, you're disrupting the class, take a walk. So they may say something very profound, you know, and you may think that it's an aggressive, constructive criticism, or maybe even an insult. It may not be. This guy may just have been waiting for that opportunity to say this fancy word. I did it myself in Thai with phrases. I just, you know, I really couldn't speak Thai that well, but I could read circumstances and situations. And when it came time for me to speak, I used Thai phrases in the same way that Mississippi people use adages, old adages. You know, I was just joking with an Indian coworker that was not fluent in Thai yet. He is now. Kun Vikash, an accountant we had. I was really just kidding around with him, and I wanted to kickstart his ability to speak Thai because he was really a very excellent accountant, and the way that he handled all of us, being that he is a cousin and the head accountant for that part of the company. You know, President Park has many properties. This was just one of them, and he didn't really have that much to do with the other locations. You know, because we had a total of 7 buildings that people lived in, and then we had the Capitol Club. So I just jokingly said to him one day, because I was waiting a long time on something that needed to be ordered, and it was not the engineer's fault really. The engineer can only, and the engineer doesn't like to be pushy. The engineer will repair what he can repair that day and that week and that month, and he will only ask you for what he needs for a future repair, and he will not rush the account. It's just this guy's habit. It's a very typical, it's not passive. In other words, he's not pushing you to start hurrying him up and making him do twice as much for the salary he's got already. And we kept him pretty busy anyway. He turned out to be a pretty good engineer. Sometimes we get a little bit mad, like we thought he did something sloppy or took too long, but he was all right. So I said to the accountant one day, I said, when are we going to get this, when are we going to order these items that I must have in the fitness room and the locker rooms close to the fitness part? I had 2 sets of locker rooms, beauty service locker rooms and fitness locker rooms, and when he was going on and on and on, I just said, you know, Chad Na Don Bai Bai Law, which means, are you telling me that we're going to have to wait until the afternoon of my next live? And of course that made all the Thais break out laugh, and they were like, oh my God, where did you hear that? That's